got a special guest presenter today that we will introduce in a minute. For those of you that know us, you recognize Matt and myself, but we will still intro ourselves and talk about College Aid Pro in a minute. But while you're rolling in, why don't I just take a minute to cover some housekeeping stuff, and we'll say this again as we get going. But this presentation is being recorded, so if you want to share it with a spouse or partner, you'll be able to do that, or if you get distracted. And feel free to put in questions during the event. Please put them in the Q&A versus the chat. Just one place for us to look. And you can be anonymous if you choose to be. So, all right. Well, let's get this kicked off. I am Peg Keogh, so I'm sure we might have some people on here that know us, but maybe not. So if you're brand new, welcome, welcome. We are College Aid Pro, and I'll talk about who we are in a minute. But again, my name's Peg Keogh, and I love the event we're doing today because I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and my background and how I got into this college planning space. I was in the financial industry, really a financial planner at heart. Had talked to families for years and years about saving for college and all that fun stuff, having it in your financial plan. And then my twins hit high school, and I did this deep dive, like, okay, not the saving part, but like, how is this going to all work and applying and where should they go and da-da-da-da. And as I did this deep dive, I was shocked at how crazy complicated it was compared to when I was a kid. And I'm speaking to the choir here, right? All you parents, you know this. You're going through this, or you've just finished and you have a child going off to college. So at that point, I pivoted, and I didn't totally leave that world because it's always a part of me. But I started focusing just on the late stage college planning. But I've always told parents, like, it's not two separate things. You have your financial plan, your portfolio, all that stuff. College planning and this pretty major expense, even if you have one child, let alone two or three, should be part of that. You don't want to do it in a silo, right? So that's why I'm super excited today to have Alex. We're going to talk about that piece, right? It's a really important piece. And if you have the college planning dialed in, it can fall in there. If you don't, Matt's going to talk about that a little bit. We're here, right? We're here for that. And then Alex is going to talk about that next piece. So it's really a financial plan, and the college planning is part of it. So super excited that we're really intentionally as College Aid Pro trying to say, hey, you're not done when you're waving goodbye at the dorm. Your financial life keeps going, right? So let me share my screen for 1 minute, and then I'm going to introduce my partner in crime here. So I mentioned College Aid Pro. So if you are new to us, again, welcome. This is who we are. This truly is our mission. This is what gets Matt and I out of bed every day, to end the student debt crisis by empowering you to shop smarter for college. And then this is just, as I said, this is just part of this process. This is that next step. We would be remiss if we were just focus on this and we talk all about affordability, but affordability, getting the best deal, finding the best discounts, and academic, personal, and financial fit college. But at the same time, is it affordable? You don't know that unless you look at your overall picture that this is a part of. So again, super excited to be here presenting this event with Alex and Matt. And if you don't know Matt, as I referred to him, my partner in crime, my buddy here, we do a lot of the presentations for CAP. He is one of the founders at College Aid Pro. I'll just tell you what he would probably say in a minute. This is his 20th year, 20th time going through this with families, right? So kind of a special anniversary for him. He's been around the block, seen everything. This is all he knows, right? Right out of college, was doing this. So I'll let you intro yourself the rest of the way there, Matt, and then we can.
I don't look a day over 15 years, though, right, Peggy?
No, not at all. No.
Sounds like we're exaggerating.
Just like I don't look a day over 10 years doing this.
Right. That's right. Yeah, no, thank you. We're really excited today. In a lot of ways, it's been a long time coming. I think one of our something that we always felt was a void or a blind spot. And what we do is kind of like, look at, we're really, we feel like we really do a great job of getting families off to college. And we've just felt this like, I don't know, we don't close the loop in terms of sending them out into the wild after that, right? I know families are in college thinking, okay, should I stay with the same loan each year? Should I refinance, right? What's my best loan option, right? Where again, if we have questions there, we're happy to help you today. But to Peg's point, it's like, how do we thread this needle between paying for college without it having this huge negative impact on, the rest of our financial lives as parents and for the students, right? How do we set ourselves up for success? And we get tons of all sorts of financial questions all the time that are inbound. Well, like, hey, you guys did a great job with college. What about retirement? Or I just got this, inheritance. What should I know about that? All sorts of these questions that we have a ton of experts on our team that are financial planners that can help with that. But it hasn't sat well with us to just kind of like bring everybody to us. And kind of when we heard about the concept of Alex and his team, of what they started, what AssetAlign started, we're like, that's what we're looking for. We want to be able to just say, hey, go talk to this objective third party, let them learn about you, and then you guys get educated and decide what you want to do for there. And I just want to show you, Peg, if you can just show one more slide before I kick it to Alex and make sure that we cover the content that you guys are looking for today. This is a slide that we show at the
Do
beginning
you
of
have it? Because I don't, that one
I
I
do.
don't have.
Yeah, no sweat. I got it.
I didn't pull up that deck, sorry.
You're good, buddy.
You just had it, so I
So,
figured.
so let me just okay. And even though I can talk past it, I think it's, the visual
It's
is
nice to have a visual, yeah.
always nice to have a visual. But I think it's important because this is what we put up at the beginning of every single presentation that we do, because we always get the question, right? In its broadest terms, like, how do we navigate this process successfully? How do we not make the same mistakes that so many others do and borrow too much and overpay for college? And this is, again, the meta best advice I can give. Start now, don't navigate this process on your own. So I'll say, just like I did at our presentation last night, I don't care if you're an eighth grader, freshman, sophomore, junior, of course, rising senior, you have to start now. That's the first piece of advice I can give you. Human nature for this kind of process that is expensive and, riddled with anxiety and unknowns, human nature is to put our head in the sand, right? Don't do that, start now, and don't navigate this process on your own. Most families that don't work with us through college, they overpay for college, and that data supports that, because we all think, we're going to beat the system here. We're going to figure it out. We're smarter than it, right? And I say all the time, Peg doesn't like when I say this, but I say all the time, like, work with our competition. I don't care. Just don't navigate this process on your own. And I think that's a great kind of, transition as I pass it to Alex here, because I think the same exact concept applies when you're thinking about your more comprehensive, financial health or whatever term you want to use. So anyways, we're excited to introduce Alex Knight and his team at AssetAlign, and he's going to get you guys educated today. And I think we'll make it very clear why we're so excited for this partnership. But yeah, Alex, if you want to take us away, we'll give you the keys here.
Great, thank you. Let me just make sure I'm sharing the screen here.
Yep, we got you.
Yep,
Okay,
good.
great. Well, thanks, Peg. Thanks, Matt. Matt, congratulations on 20 years. I did not know that. So you either doing something correctly or you started the company when you were 10. So
right.
Well, so as Matt and Peg mentioned, we really appreciate the partnership, and we are massive fans and users of College Aid Pro. So we really appreciate the opportunity to introduce our company to you today. And just as a way of background, this is a partnership that was developed organically and was really based on a shared belief that as the complexities and costs, certainly the cost of education, as that's gone up, individuals really need a partner who advocates for them, as opposed to the traditional model of large financial institutions, which is to sell more product or create more product, which is why you can't turn on the news without William Shatner or somebody from Law and Order selling you reverse mortgage. So everything that we do is based on this concept or idea of objectivity. And that objectivity really allows us to listen, to understand what you're trying to accomplish, what your long and short-term goals are, and then to create a solutions-based platform to help you accomplish those goals. So as Matt mentioned, my name is Alex Knight. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders, and myself, along with my partners, created AssetAlign after close to 2 decades working as consultants within the financial industry. So as consultants, in most cases, we were working with all or some of the major advisory brands that I'm sure you're familiar with, that you either see on TV or you've driven by their offices. And our roles were essentially the advisor to the advisor. So over the course of that time, it essentially involved us jumping on planes, trains, I guess post-COVID Zooms, and flying around the country, meeting with individual advisors and financial practitioners. And our job was really to help them with every component of building their financial advice practice. So that means from the very basic building blocks on how to build a portfolio based on risk and return profiles, and then all the way to more some of the esoteric stuff like client optimization strategies, how do they grow their practice, and then some of the aspects around behavioral finance, and some of the emotional ways that folks react into certain market scenarios that one might face. So after close to, let me just see if I can move to the next slide here. That's us. We can spend as little time as possible on that. And okay, so as I mentioned, after close to 20 years of consulting, we launched AssetAlign with the very simple goal to simplify one of the most daunting parts of financial planning, and that's identifying the right advisor who you can trust and how to get started. And really, this idea was born out of a general belief that financial advisors and the financial industry as a whole has generally failed you as a client. As you can imagine, we spend the majority of our time talking about this. Last week, we were speaking to a crowd of 300 advisors, and this generally does not win us any friends, but the fact remains true, and it's something that we've witnessed as insiders in the industry. This is an industry, in our opinion, that has put a massive overemphasis on selling something and engineering complex financial products, and really leaving behind the larger point of financial advice, which is to help you accomplish goals and focus on the outcomes, what's important to you, short and long term, versus, what is the second by second stock price of NVIDIA today. And then generally speaking, that's how financial institutions advertise. They advertise based on the margin they get on products, certainly not the outcomes of what you are trying to succeed. So our mission, or excuse me, our experience gave us a lot of exposure to the really good practitioners and advisors around the country. And we had a front row seat or backstage pass simultaneously to watch financial planning in action. And over that time, we really developed a deep appreciation that when constructed correctly and delivered in a really thoughtful manner, financial planning and advice is imperative for all individuals. And again, that's for short and long-term goals. That's for something that's prescriptive, like paying for college. It's also for things that are on the horizon that you may not have pegged yet. So again, that's for you to live a financially comfortable life and then ultimately work towards a robust retirement. So everything that we do is based on objectivity. We are not advisors. We can never emulate what really good advisors do. We're just fortunate enough to spend quite a bit of time with the professionals and have become really good experts on identifying who are the good ones. So objectivity is incredibly important here, in our opinion, as Matt mentioned. And so advice is, certainly in finance, advice is not a one size fits all. Just because your neighbor or your brother-in-law uses a certain firm, that perhaps is not the best solution for you, or that does not fit the needs for your unique financial situation. So it's sort of that old adage of don't ask an insurance person if you need more insurance. Same thing applies. If the answer is always I'm the best financial advisor, more than likely that's not the customized fit that you need. So we spend about 50% of our time here at AssetAlign meeting with financial advisors. We put them through a fairly extensive due diligence process and background check. If they are able to get through that process, we add them to a curated list, which we then refer our clients to over time. So as of right now, let's see, looking this morning, we're about 121 advisors that we work with, and that's across 39 states. That number is fluid. We're bringing on advisors all the time. There's also advisors that are sort of graduating out of the program as they grow. And all of those advisors work with clients both in person and remotely, completely dependent on what you do. A little bit about our vetting process. So,
Sorry, Alex, if I could break in for a minute here, couple good questions. One of them was just on your last point specifically, somebody wondering if you guys have anybody in the Philly area.
Yeah, we do. So on top of my head, I think we have 3 in the Philadelphia area and 3 more, I believe, in the state of Pennsylvania. So yes, we do. So if someone, I would encourage that person to connect with us on our website or connect with us through email, and we can certainly facilitate some conversations.
Beautiful. And if you want to go to that previous slide, there was something that somebody wanted you to double click here, just talk a little bit more about this MIT matching program and any other context you can add around that.
Yeah, sure. So we are fortunate enough in my co-founder and I, Adam's previous careers, we represented a hedge fund / mutual fund that was designed by Dr. Andrew Lo. For those who aren't in the Boston area like we are or familiar with MIT, Dr. Lo runs MIT's Laboratory of Financial Engineering, and for all things sort of being equal, MIT's Lab of Financial Engineering has become the center of the universe for behavioral finance. So we were fortunate enough to engage with them, and they have designed proprietary system for us. So there's certain questions that we are asking as facilitators to you as an individual. There's then certain questions that we are utilizing within our advisor due diligence process. And then based on those answers, we're able to algorithmically align you with a list of advisors. From that, so that's about 75% of it. So that takes the list down from 121 to, let's say, 5 or 6. From that point on, in each individual case, we sit with our matching committee, and that's where we really talk about the qualitative side. We talk about who's going to be a good personality fit, whose practice aligns with the specialties that an individual needs. And so that the qualitative side really is the nuances of it and sort of the gray area, if you will. But that in our opinion, MIT is the best and the brightest, especially with behavioral finance. And behavioral finance is a massive component of being a successful investor. And so I think we're really fortunate to have that partnership.
No doubt about it. Yeah, 100%. Something I've always been fascinated with too. I love that part of the program. All right, I think we're cut up for now, brother. I'll let you get back to it.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I'll buzz through this real quick. This is our vetting process. We start with individuals. So you have to be working towards a designation or a credential, you either have it or be working towards it. Second is experience. So we partner with advisors that have at least a minimum of 5 years relevant work experience. I know that sort of, if you're listening, you would assume that's table stakes, but it's not. And there's some pretty scary statistics out there. I think it's Financial Planning Association says that 80% of advisors fail out within their 3 years. So you really want to make sure that if you are going through this process and you're talking with someone, you want to make sure that they have a fairly successful business model and they have staying power. The next one, and this is important, it's fiduciary. So we only work with fiduciaries. That means we do not work with individuals who are commission-based. This is, if you go back to the 1980s when this model was sort of, where the commission-based model was created, it was based on a few brokerage shops having access to stocks and bonds. So if you wanted access to the markets, you had to go through them. And as you got product, you were charged a commission to use that process. For the most part, the industry has moved away from that, and it's now charging a fee for advice. So we exclusively work with those fiduciaries. And then the last two, investment management, obviously that's important. We can talk about that. And then financial planning. I would put just a massive emphasis on financial planning and how important that is to the process.
Can I just chime in for 1 sec, Alex, on the fiduciary front, in case that's a new term for anybody on here? It's the commission piece, but it's also a philosophical piece too. So commission based, the old term brokers, right? They didn't have to do what was in the best interest of the client, right? Doesn't mean that they could do anything they want, right? But for example, if there were 3 different products and the commission was higher on one of them and they were all relevant to the client, they could say, hey, buy the product with the highest commission. That's in their interest. Maybe it's the best one for the client, but maybe not. Fiduciaries, I mean, as Alex said, they don't do commission based, so they're more aligned with you, but also philosophically they're mandated to do what's best for the client, and that's what you want. That's, ultimately obviously what you want. So I just wanted to share that as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, Peg. I mean, and the fiduciary is something that space has grown exponentially over the last 15 years or so, and that's been, in my opinion, a massive upgrade for the industry. The quicker we can move away from products and commissions being sold to fee for service, the better everybody is. So, if you are like a lot of the individuals that we work with, or myself, there's always a number of different reasons that we hear for reasons that we don't have an advisor. So I'll kind of just highlight a few of those. There's this is probably the most frequent, is we hear is the do-it-yourself advisor. So for those out there who are doing this right now, perhaps you like learning about investments, and this has led you to this method. We are certainly advocates of people fully learning everything there is to know about the markets. However, I do think it's important to separate investments from financial planning. Investments are obviously a part of that, and understanding those are important, but the planning things, for instance, understanding the vehicles that allow you to maximize return while minimizing tax drag, those are much more important than the individual construction of a portfolio. And given our past experience, I have been probably a part of constructing thousands of individual portfolios. And I would say this is, generally speaking, a commoditized area. We're essentially starting with a 60-40 portfolio and then just adjusting based on risk and age and tolerance. So really focus on the planning, not the investment sides. I'll also say we hear people say, I don't think I have enough money to work with an advisor, or I would not qualify for account minimums. So through our program and our partnerships, we've been fortunate enough to develop relationships with people that we think are the best advisors in the country. And through the larger relationship that we have, they've opened up their doors to our clients regardless of size. So do not let your current capital or where you are currently on your financial journey prevent you from getting good advice. Advisors are also compensated as they grow their books, so they're certainly incentivized to take on the right clients that fit for their practice.
Sorry, Alex, I'll break in with a comment here and then a relevant question. But this is a prerequisite for us as part of the partnership, because we know you would know the statistics better than me, but most advisors, financial planners, et cetera, will only work with families that have a certain amount of investable assets, and there's a minimum, and usually that minimum just does not apply, I should say, to a lot of folks that are in our ecosystem, right? We work with the entire spectrum of families and students in terms of socioeconomics. So it was important to us, critical to us, I guess, to say, like, we're not going to open this up unless this could be something that everybody has the option, right, to participate in whatever, wherever they are, right, on that spectrum. So That was important for us. So again, I just wanted to double down on that. And somewhat relevant is a question. This is actually a student question here, of a student that they just graduated from college. They got some type of inheritance. They don't feel like they're ready to do a whole kind of financial plan yet, but would like at least some guidance, advice, whatever around, what should I do? Given, what's this inheritance here. Is that something that is relevant to you guys, or is it kind of like they're all in working with an advisor or not?
No, yeah, not at all. We everybody and anyone, I would say, and this gets to a little bit about your first point, but everything that we do here is based on the belief that every single person, regardless of where you are in that journey, whether it's $2,500 or $25 million, or if you're a student or you're a seasoned investor, everyone should have access and be utilizing financial advice. That's it. And as Matt sort of alluded to, our goal is just to get people there. We think we do a pretty good job, and we work with some incredibly smart people, but at the very least, just go get advice, and so remove all those barriers. And the second one, and Matt, to answer that question specifically, so we're on the phone, as you can imagine, all day with folks, or WebExes, helping them with individual plans. Some of those conversations are a half hour, some of them are an hour and a half. I would say every conversation I have between 8:30 and 10 o'clock, and then 3:30 and 5 o'clock, is folks in the car, and they have one question. I'm thinking about doing this, or I just inherited something, or we're going through this life event, and it's just as a sounding board. Our job, I know we're sort of talking a lot today, but our job generally is to just listen and then connect folks. So regardless if it's a surface level question or it's something that is sort of layered in complexities, just call us and we'll find a home for you if applicable. If not, we'll just get you the answers.
Perfect.
So this, I'll kind of buzz through this too, but this is just a little bit about our process. So we'll send out a link and an email follow-up, and I think there's you've probably got the links through Matt and his team as well, but there's a way to go on and fill out a very brief survey, and this is a way for us to sort of capture where you are in your current financial standing. So we're gonna just have a better understanding of what your personal assets and liabilities are, what major expenses you have, do you own a home, etc. This should take you about 5 minutes or so, and the goal here is just for us to get a better understanding of your financial standing, when you want to retire, etc. So that is as quick as 5 minutes. The next step is we will schedule a consultation with one of our asset alignment counselors. Given the relationship that we have with Matt, Peg, and the team at College Aid Pro, more than likely that's going to be myself or my co-founder, Adam, who was previously a financial advisor. So this consultation, I said before, we shoot for 30 minutes. It can be under or over, and we can be a sounding board. Just call us and connect, and we'll kind of go from there to make the process pretty easy. The last one is we will meet with our team, as I mentioned. We'll take the quantitative component from MIT, as I touched on earlier, and then we'll take the qualitative nuances, or the gray area, what we call it, and then we'll match you with an advisor. And the way we match you is you'll have full transparency into what that individual's fees are, the reasons that we matched you based on their specialties. So the goal here is the industry says it takes about 30 hours for an advisor and a client to make a match. Our goal is to sort of drop you in on the 29th hour, and really just to make sure it's a good cultural fit. So that's that.
Sorry, I've got a good two-part question here. I'll just kind of read it word for word. Okay, many of us are deciding where we can afford to live after kids have gone to college / prep for retirement. Do you help with that? Part one. If we do investments with you, do you require moving money to a particular investment firm? That's part two.
Okay, let me I'm going to go backwards. So no, we do not. So of the fiduciaries that we work with, they're across really all major platforms. So from an institutional standpoint, the platforms generally are Fidelity, Schwab, and Pershing. So if you have a familiarity with you and that's important to you that you want to stay with that platform, but use an advisor, we can certainly accommodate that. But no, we're sort of agnostic to brand. We're agnostic to platform. We just want to screen through for quality. The second one is, can we help someone figure out where to live, Matt? Am I getting that correctly?
Yeah, so I guess where we can afford to live, right? So I guess if I'm translating here, so please correct me if I'm not doing it correctly and putting words in your mouth, but kind of like help figure out what's a cost of living that would work with our retirement and given this college. That's how I'm interpreting it.
Yeah. Okay. So without a doubt, in that context, one of the first things that you'll do with us, and then in combination with an advisor, is sort of do a level set of where you are with your expenses, what you can afford, and what your options are. And once you sort of have that, it simplifies a little bit of some of the more difficult decisions like that. But those are stuff that within the first hour of sitting down with the financial advisor, that stuff becomes a little bit more clear. All right, let me jump ahead. I'm trying to watch on my time here, Matt, so I'm going to go as quick as possible. So this is a slide that we grabbed that's right out of the playbook for individuals who are getting their designation, the Certified Financial Planner. And this perhaps may look a little overwhelming, but this is just an example of the areas of planning that need to be looked at over a family's lifetime. So they're covering the core tenets of the CFP guidelines. That's insurance, investments, retirement plans, taxes, and estate planning. Each of these topics is fairly complex and really requires a great deal of education and experience. And that's why we really emphasize the planning components of the job. So, for instance, even if your advisor is not an expert on taxes or estate planning, and a lot of questions, they have a ton of experience, know the questions to ask, or in a lot of cases with the firms that we work with, they have in-house tax and in-house legal that they will integrate into their process. So the last piece here, let's see, there we go. So this is sort of one of the challenges that when we talk to people in a call to action is to just do a real quick inventory to give yourself what we call a personal financial report card. In that you can do this a number of different ways, but estate planning, this is making sure that if in fact it's applicable to your situation, that you have a will set up, that you have trust set up. You'd be surprised. This is something that isn't, and now with technology can be done in a fairly quick fashion with a lot of advisors, but to not do it or to do it in an incorrect way can be incredibly timely and costly. I think the average probate cost now is in the tens of thousands, and the average time you're in probate is over a year. So some really just taking a half hour or an hour and sort of getting on paper what's important to you really makes a difference. From tax optimization, making sure that you're using the right vehicles. Things like 529 is obviously applicable to college planning, but there's other things like IRAs or Roth IRAs or backdoor Roth IRAs. There's a number of different areas that sort of allow you to navigate the complexities of the tax code in a really smart way. Rate and fee optimization. This has been a conversation that happens quite a bit over the last 3 years, as you can get something close to or a little bit north of 5% in some of the general savings accounts. So making sure that you're not paying a high fee while getting good carry on your rates. And then lastly, insurance review. I think insurance has probably gotten a bad rap, but it is an incredible tool to be utilized within holistic wealth management. However you structure it, for instance, we have a term policy that is just enough to cover our mortgage, and that was important to us. But it really is a tool. So the idea is to sort of mentally go through this, and then to be honest with yourself, and and to give yourself a grade on where you stand. And if you are currently working with an advisor, and you're just thinking you want a second opinion, I would hold them accountable to this, or call us, and we can sort of give you the details to call balls and strikes on that as well. So I'll just end with this. This is we talked a little bit, or we've talked the entire time about the importance of having an advisor. In this slide, it quantifies that. So this was a study that was done by Vanguard, and this shows $500,000, assuming annualized 5% annualized growth with an advisor and 5% annualized growth without an advisor, and compounded over 25 years, it's about 2x. And I would say very little of that is investment oriented. So very little of that has to do with, hey, we think there's going to be a mortgage crisis and we're moving out of the markets. The majority of this is coming up with a plan, having someone to talk to you about a plan, sticking to that plan, and then making sure that you're doing the right things from a vehicle standpoint with taxes. So, yeah, I'll just end with saying, with College Aid Pro and what we're doing, everything's about fit in this world. If the answer was the same for everyone, there would be one college and that everyone went to in College Aid Pro and one financial track that people use, but that's not the case. There's this highly and heavily qualitative component to what they do. And so our goal is to simplify this. Everyone should be getting advice. This is not a luxury that's for some people. This is imperative for everybody. And so I'll pause there, Matt, and see if we have any additional questions.
Yeah, a couple of things. I do have a question to get to. I shared your link in the chat, and I'll just tell you because this is a new partnership, right? And one thing that I would love, number one, I just encourage you. I think everybody should go through the exercise and see what they learn, right? Regardless of what the outcome is. Ask your questions, get your feedback from one-on-one with some folks that know what they're talking about. And then we would love your feedback, right? Come back and tell us, hey, this was my experience with Alex and his team. And because that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to make sure that, again, we feel great. We're very confident. We wouldn't have partnered if we were not. But we want to hear from you guys. We want to get the feedback. And I guess my closing thought here before I'll ask you the last question here, but I always have gravitated towards the, analogy of like having a personal trainer or not, right? Like, look, if you really know what you're doing and you're unbelievably disciplined, like, then you're in that kind of small percentage of folks that can optimize and maximize their workouts on their own. For most people, you just do better with a personal trainer because you have that level of accountability, that level of experience, knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. So same thing applies here. And I think, again, just like we think the exact same thing with college, work with the pros, you're going to optimize your results. We're psyched to partner with you, Alex. I learned a bunch here. And the last question is, I think you hit it on a slide earlier, but just kind of point blank here is, what is your cost? What does it cost to work with you guys? Number one, and number two, are there other firms like you?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So there is no additional cost that you would have as someone that works with us. So it's completely free. So if you call us up and we spend 15 hours with you on a consultation, or we spend 15 minutes, it doesn't matter. There is no cost to that. The way that we are paid is we have revenue sharing agreements with the advisors that we have on our curated list. And so as they charge their fees, which are the same as they charge everybody else, they will carve out a certain piece and pay that as a referring partner. So the answer is it's free. And hopefully that's a massive reason that people just utilize us, and there's no bad questions that's associated with this one. I'll also extend, Matt, to use your analogy with a personal trainer. So I'm sitting in my kitchen right now, and I live in Massachusetts in an incredibly old and small house. And so when we moved here, we had to do quite a bit of work. And for someone like myself who struggles to hang up a picture in their home, we sort of found ourselves meeting with and interviewing 10 different people who were builders in our area, which was just this crazy and really massively overwhelming situation to be in as someone who didn't understand it. And the differences on what we got from a price from one person to the next, the differences on what we got on a timeline or what the project would look like was so different that it almost essentially caused us to not do it. If someone had come to us in the process and said, hey, I spent the last 20 years as a builder, but I hung that up, and now I spend all my time driving around town and meeting with the different builders, so I understand what they're really good at. I have full transparency into their schedules and timelines. I know exactly what the cost should be, and I'll hold them to that. And oh, by the way, it costs nothing. That's essentially what we're trying to do with financial advice.
Yeah, I would just chime in, you know, you're on this webinar. Obviously, something about how we advertised it was resonating with you. This has been, I'm thinking of myself, I have my giant to-do list, right? This has always been, we got to do this, we got to do this. Like, this is a great opportunity to get some good insight from Alex and his team, but then to be able to talk to some people, and you're probably going to have a few meetings where it's like, yeah, where we're really landing with this man or woman, this advisor, and it can help you, because it just, speaking from my background, I think one of the biggest things that advisors do for people is when it's a down market, right? And you're freaking out and you want to sell, you know, it gets back to that behavioral finance that you were talking about before. Just gives you some peace of mind. I feel like Matt and I, with what we do, a lot of what I do sometimes is like, I'm almost a mini therapist for parents. Like, it's all right, take a deep breath, you know, you're going to get through this. And good advisors play that role. Like, they can take the emotion out of some of this. So it's just, it can be massively, massively helpful. So if this has been on your to-do list, we encourage you, just take that next step, you know, chat with Alex and his team.
Yep. All said. Okay, so broad question and then specific one for you, Alex. The broad one is, any other firms like you guys, competition or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, so sorry, I know you asked that before and I missed it. So there's no one who are doing it specifically like us. So there's a few other firms that are out there that are programs that are designed for advisors to grow their business. So sort of operationally, what that looks like is you go onto a website or you click on, I'm looking for an advisor. You answer 5 questions. They then sell that data to a number of advisors. So in most cases, let's say it's 5 advisors. So I've done it. I've gone through the process quite with all of them, frankly, and you get within 3 minutes 5 calls from advisors. So they're selling the data, and there's no quantitative or qualitative way to match those up. So we're not doing that. We're a client first company, and so we're really trying to solve the problems of how do we get people to engage in financial planning conversations? How do we make sure that we remove all these obstacles that are in the way from them doing that, and then making sure it's going to be a lasting partnership. So I don't think there's anyone that does it quite like us, Matt.
All right, cool. And then this one, pretty granular here, but do you advise on complex issues like the world potentially going to a gold standard currency, which will likely affect US currency, and how can we protect assets against that?
Yeah, so we don't really have the gold conversation since like Nixon left office, but we do. Bitcoin is now the topic du jour. So that's something that we address quite frequently, actually, on calls. And any advisor that you're going to pair with is going to be well versed in talking about the devaluation of currency or alternative currencies like gold or crypto. So yeah, that comes up pretty frequently.
Yeah, I figured out, but wanted to ask the question out loud. So, all right, beautiful. Listen, we love having you. We're excited to kind of see how we evolve here. And like I said, please, if nothing else, selfishly, College Aid Pro audience folks, go through the process and let us know what your experience was. And I just think it's a no-brainer in my opinion, but obviously do what you like. And yeah, we're excited to have you on again, Alex, and I know we will.
Likewise, thanks for the opportunity and looking forward to working with all these individuals.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
great day, everybody.
Bye now.